Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff DeVerter. You want to see? For real, there it is. I am the Chief Technology Evangelist. Let's turn that off. It's all cut off. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist over here at Rackspace Technology, or as Josh Prewitt likes to say, the global head of something, the Chief Technology Evangelist. Anyway, we've had a bit of a joke running around here. Folks, I'm so excited to be with you here today. This is our quarterly Solve Summit. That's right. It's the Solve Summit where we bring together some experts to have an engaging conversation around, well, a bunch of research that we've done. And look, everyone knows all the rules. Look at you go there. I would love for you to introduce yourselves in the comments on whatever platform you're watching. They all aggregate right over there on my side of the screen. Look, you get to see them too. So introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you are, because it's also super fun to see where around the world we have our guests showing up from. Now, we have a pretty global audience or panelists here today to have a conversation with you. But before we get into that, I've already mentioned that we're here to talk about a bunch of research that we did. We do this research every single quarter. We get a new batch of research. And as we were completing, heading into Q4 of 2023, well, you know what? We started to really think a lot about what does 2024 hold? And so we focused our research in and around trends in technology and what we can expect in 2024. Now, this research, this is really exciting to think about, is research. It's not a lot of, pontificating about the potential. It's about real IT executives. In fact, we'll bring up a slide here shortly that shows a little bit of the information about the different folks that we went out and interviewed. I'll tell you, it's over 1,400 IT decision, look right there, 1,400 IT decision makers all around the world, 10 different countries, a bunch of different industries. You can see them listed there on the screen, whether that's retail, manufacturing, government, healthcare. This is a wide set of demographics. Now, as we go through all of this, of course, I want to say hi to our friends in Mexico, in faraway Texas. That's where I am right now. And JP's here. That's awesome. Welcome. I've seen India in here. Jersey City is here. Let's see if we get some West Coast now that we're a little later in the day. Sean Gardner's here. Man, Sean, you're always here. I promise. Breakfast is coming soon. All right, everyone. But again, as we think about the demographics and the folks that we went out to talk to, we spend a lot of time thinking about these questions. And then off they go with this professional group that goes out and conducts all of the interviews. We bring all that information together, and holy cow, do we find some really interesting things that show up as part of that. And you're going to love hearing about that. We got, by the way, Phoenix, Arizona. Moving too fast. Cairo is here. I love that. Germany is here. Berlin. South America is here. India again. Holy cow, I cannot even keep up. Bernie is here. Evie and out in Bernie. I love Bernie. All right, well, let's get into a little bit of the content now. But before we dig in and start really unpacking a lot of this, I thought I might introduce you to my first guest. Now, the guests that we've got today, folks, some incredible people. Now, I've got a couple of rackers who you've seen throughout the years on the program. Adrianna Bustamante is here. Josh Prewitt is here. You're going to love getting to hear from them. But also, we have Chris Wolf. Now, Chris is with VMware. He is the global head of AI and advanced solutions. So, Chris, why don't you pop up on the screen here as if you have any control of that, but producer Daniel does, and he'll bring them on up. Chris, welcome to the program from Utah.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'm happy to be here. Split my time between Utah and our Palo Alto campus in California.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of the program and braving the snowy weather that you have out there for 10 days, you mentioned earlier. Well, Chris, as you've looked through the survey results, and we're going to get into unpacking the individual sections, but let's start with maybe some high-level observations that you saw to tease the good folks out here. One of the things, of course, we hear, and it's part of why we invited you to be a part of this with that fancy title that you do have, is the pervasiveness in AI. What jumped out to you there in the study? Maybe 65%
I think a
of
few
people
things.
have it?
So, I think one of the things that's quite interesting about the way our team's constructed, which is a lot different often in the software side, is in addition to driving the advanced development of the new AI capabilities and VMware products, we also operate the company's internal AI services. So that gives us a really good point of view in terms of what's working, what's not working, where are the focus areas and where's the real traction. So The parts of the survey that definitely stood out to me were really around the use cases. That we had done some of our own internal studies over the summer, and they really mirrored what we were seeing as well in terms of where folks were really looking for benefits from AI. And these were things like uh, content creation, having an enterprise chatbot to help with customer service, code assistance, and things like this. And these are all areas that internally inside VMware we've also prioritized.
Well, and we brought up a little slide that as we went out and, if we think about this time last year, Chris, everybody thought AI, ChatGPT has just burst onto the scene end of 2022. We wake up and head into January from our holidays, and now everybody can spell ChatGPT. And it was a toy in a lot of ways that people looked at, and not a lot of folks taking it seriously. But one of the stats that we found, Daniel brought it up on the screen before, 65% believe that pervasive AI will have a most positive business impact in 2024. So we've gone from a lot of FUD and curiosity to, hey, 65% of folks are thinking that this is going to have a real business impact.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. And like just to give you an example, internally, we've set up our own AI chat service with retrieval augmented generation that scrapes all of our internal documentation on a daily basis. So you can ask it things like VMware configuration parameters to help with troubleshooting, to even writing code samples to do some automation for you. It's really powerful, and it's definitely helping from a productivity perspective. Just one more stat to throw at you. When we rolled out our internal code assistance solution, we found that 92% of our software developers want to continue using the tool. And I don't know about most companies out there, but we can't get like 50% of software engineers to agree on something. So when 90
They
plus
can't
percent,
agree on
right, that's
lunch.
like, wow. Yeah.
That is an absolutely incredible stat that you cite there. Now, I do also want to, everybody who's watching this live with us, if you have any questions for any of the guests or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. You've done an amazing job so far of introducing yourselves. You guys are from everywhere here. Thank you for joining. Now, Chris, one of the other stats in this, as somebody who is part of VMware by Broadcom, I would think is a stat that catches your attention, and that is that hybrid cloud is alive and well. And we're going to spend a fair amount of time talking about what that means. And to give everyone a bit of context there, when we're saying hybrid cloud, we're talking about hybrid multi-cloud, and that would be using more than one public cloud, but all of that tied to and working with a private cloud solution. In a cloud-first world, Chris, were you surprised at how many people had this as part of their strategy?
Yeah, probably not for us. Maybe it's a little bit of confirmation bias, right? Because we're in the middle of this every day. But you look at companies around the world, and they just have assets that have particular dependencies, or they need to connect in a certain way, or there's latency requirements. Our folks look at some critical IP to their company, and they want to develop and run that using open source technologies, and they want to maintain full control of the stack. So there's a myriad of reasons why private cloud and hybrid cloud is here to stay. In fact, we think it's going to grow, inclusive of use cases like AI, because oftentimes you can maintain privacy and control and do so at a lower cost than you can get with other public services.
Yeah. So they're already asking questions about licensing, and we're not going to cover licensing here today. Not part of the conversation. I'm sure you have a VMware contact you can reach out. But good job on asking questions. I love the fact that you're asking questions. There was actually a stat I think we wanted to bring up, Daniel, as well, that talked about the pervasiveness of it. Now, 75% say that their organization, 75%, check out that number, folks. 75% say that their organization has adopted, doesn't plan to, but has adopted a hybrid cloud strategy. Again, as you mentioned before, Chris, maybe a little confirmation bias. This should just music to your ears. But the reality is, and I think that as we think about, I used the joke before that we woke up in 2023 after the holidays being able to spell ChatGPT. But I think also people realize that with their cloud first, using air quotes heavily there, strategy for their IT, they realize that it's not a one size fits all. There really are right fits for the right technology at the right time.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Jeff, with hybrid cloud, you can have a center of gravity, right? So I can have a singular point where I can operate and manage my environment. And then as different lines of business require different software solutions, I can run that on the hybrid cloud. And that's been a big part of our strategy, is even doing things like pulling hyperscaler services in to give you that opportunity as well to run that anywhere there's a VMware footprint.
That's right. That's right. It's a common sense approach to IT, I like to say. Well, with that, Chris, we're going to get into some of the deeper details, but we are very proud of our partnership with VMware. In fact, I wanted to run just a quick video and show a little bit of the greatness that you guys are up to. So, Daniel, let's roll the clip.
VMware supports the overall architecture of our information and keeps us moving every single day.
Without VMware, we couldn't get where we are right now. We could not achieve our multi-cloud strategy without VMware. It's glued together our Amazon environment with our Google environment with our own private cloud environment.
We accelerated using the VM product, which allowed us to deploy over 1,200 devices to all of our officers. And we did it in such a quick time that we were able to meet the community needs.
It literally saves patients' life to have access to their information everywhere at any time. Digital transformation is really the key. We need to give our medical staff access to all the applications, all data at their fingertips.
With VMware, we can remove any uncertainty around our IT operations, empowering our company with the freedom to pursue new ideas. As we continue to transition towards renewables, we can be confident we have a trusted partner alongside the journey.
When we want the Prewitt to have the delivery functions, we change our office to a cloud kitchen. Lines 2 becomes a heart of the company right now because it's the central of the customer service touchpoint. We need AAS and VMware to make it very, very stable.
We are one of the first universities to acknowledge the climate emergency program. We are looking at all of our technologies to ensure that we are able to be carbon neutral by 2030. There's no way we could do this without VMware.
VMware has been a great partner with us, and Cloud Health is simple. It's now become built into our everyday process at Toast.
I mean, look around, things are great. Future is definitely bright.
All right. Well, we do love our partnership with VMware. You know who else we love a partnership with, and that's our good friends over at Dell. In fact, Josh, you can help keep me honest here, but Dell, I think, is our longest, here at Rackspace, our longest standing partnership that we have. Rackspace has been around for about 25 years. We foolishly built our own servers in those early days, but very quickly realized that the partner was Dell, and you came. And here's Jennifer Savoia to join us from Dell. Jennifer, you are a new face to the program. Welcome here today.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be here. Appreciate it.
So glad that you are here. And you are the global lead of global alliances. By the way, we get paid by the amount of times we say global here today. And so if it was a drinking game, we'd already be, well, for coffee, that is, we'd be very excited. But thank you for being here today and being a part of our conversation. And of course, Josh Prewitt, global head of global here at Rackspace, well, of solution engineering here at Rackspace. So Josh, welcome back to the program. So glad you're here.
Yep, thanks for having me, Jeff. Glad to be here.
Josh, while you've got the mic, you've been here just about as long as I have been here. Oh, Gert is here. You've got a friend in Gert. By the way, Himanshu asked a really good question, but we're going to address that a little bit later in the program when we talk about some more AI. But Josh, I flashed up a fancy graphic before that said that 75% of respondents have a hybrid approach to their cloud, a multi-hybrid approach to cloud. Why do you think that is? Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of seeing the natural correction of like where workloads are going to live, right? I think that we went through a period where it was public cloud by default, and you saw a lot of folks that were like, "Hey, move everything to public cloud because we're going to get all these great economics out of it, and it's going to be this great innovator. It's going to be wonderful." And so many of those things are true, right? I mean, like all the values of public cloud are can't possibly be understated. But I think that what we've seen is that with that approach, some leaders have started to see their public cloud bills spin out of control. Maybe they didn't have the proper governance, and they've got, that developer who's spinning up servers that they're then not tearing down. You've got, these long running persistent workloads that are not bursty, that are, frankly, costing a lot more from a total cost of ownership perspective than putting it within, a private cloud or hosting it yourself. And so I think that what you're seeing is kind of this right sizing of, the right location for your workloads where you need it. So you sort of move from this public cloud by default to public cloud by design type approach that many leaders are starting to adopt.
Well, it's a great point. And what we all have been feeling and recognizing, the data supports this as well. In fact, I think we have a fancy slide about it, is the IT landscape is absolutely in flux right now. And, whether it's from the rise of AI to IT strategies and hiring and sustainability, it's really got people rethinking, or maybe I like to say right thinking, about what their approach to AI is, or what their approach to all their technology is. And Jennifer, so as we think about, somebody's approach in and around a hybrid approach to their technology, what are some of the advantages to an approach like this that we should be aware of?
Yeah, and I think Josh and Chris actually alluded to it, right? I mean, I think it's the flexibility of choice to address, the specific needs and the requirements of the business when they come up, right? And certainly AI is one of those things that have hit a lot of businesses by surprise. And so, having to grow and being able to burst into a public cloud, for example, makes it very easy to, start that and, that journey. So I think, some of the other advantages, obviously, besides scaling up and scaling down, I think, public cloud offers pay-as-you-go models, right? So you don't have to go to, IT procurement with a big, capital expenditure. You can, really just manage that more efficiently overall. And then I think, where you have to have security and compliance and those stricter controls in place, leveraging a private cloud aspect of the hybrid cloud is going to be important. So again, right applications and data, where you need it. But having that flexibility to make those decisions on a very short note, I think is important for business.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the public cloud is the fact that people really found some characteristics of it that they liked. And the private cloud folks, yourself included, have looked at ways to bring those characteristics into the real world of a private cloud, whether it is even the economic side of pay as you go, pay on from a demand point of view, even get into the technical side of it, whether it's APIs to do more things than, hands-on keyboards to do the things. Josh, somebody who helped architect a lot of those solutions at Rackspace and even the products themselves. Let's talk a little bit about how public cloud has influenced private cloud for the better.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, one of the best things about public cloud is the ability to prototype quickly, right? You can spin up the resources whenever you need them. You can test whatever you want, and then you can build something very, very quickly without having to go through long procurement cycles and all the things that come with that. And I think that's that sort of innovation. It in any sort of competition always drives innovation in any market, right? And so I think we see that in IT as we would anywhere else. And so to that point, you've got the utility build model of, hey, I'm only going to pay for, the compute as I use it or the storage as I use it. Now, where a lot of folks think that, hey, that's perfect. I'll, automate shutting down and turning up and spinning up resources and all that stuff. And I think that a lot of times that, panacea of, hey, I'm going to have this perfect match of compute to my workload. That's not really realized, but the ability to prototype quickly is huge. Right. And the innovations that we've seen in public cloud, that's driven the innovation in private cloud as well, right? I mean, Dell now has models that do more of usage based. Rackspace has models that are usage based and utility build, and so I think that innovation and some of those capabilities from public cloud, now you're seeing those spread out further into the rest of the market.
Well, and as we think about, the economic side of it as well, more and more, of course, we live in a world where people are looking outside their window and realizing that, hey, the weather is changing a little bit more than maybe I had expected it to, or it's different than it was last year. So we find sustainability being a key driver in how business is done, and specifically how it's done inside of IT. And I think IT really has a voice and a place in this to help make those changes in the world. And so we see that more and more as a requirement, which I think is exciting. Now, we say that 28% of the respondents have a well-developed sustainability strategy, but I think they're also looking to partners to help with that. Jennifer, any thoughts around how technology is helping in a sustainability first order world?
Sure. Yeah, I think sustainability, you're right. It remains, a board level initiative. It's that important, right? I think ESG matters are, incorporated to every aspect of an organization's purpose, its governance, its strategy, even decision making and accountability reporting is critical. And one of the things that I've seen, like IT procurement, for example, they're really focused on cost savings perspective. So energy efficient infrastructure is one way to reduce energy consumption, lower those utility bills. And on top of that, when you couple that with, things like virtualization and automation and cloud computing, you can really, optimize that resource utilization, reducing the need for, extra physical hardware and associated maintenance costs. So by investing in sustainable IT solutions up front, businesses can really achieve, those cost efficiencies and improve their overall bottom line. I think one other area, though, is as important too, is the supply chain, right? So supply chain is increasingly where businesses are really scrutinizing the environmental impact of the supply chains and making sure that they're choosing responsible suppliers that adhere to sustainable practices as well.
Well, and we see Europe is really leading the way in requirements for some of that, as opposed to being just a corporate-driven initiative. So, really interesting. The last thing we really just have a few seconds left in this segment, but I really think it's important to call out as we take a high-level look at how a company is going to approach their technology. One of the biggest areas where we find challenges is in data integration. And as we go to talk more about AI here shortly, we can see here 44% report that data integration is their biggest operational challenges when thinking about how they're going to adopt a hybrid cloud solution. Josh, I'll give you 30 seconds on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this isn't a surprise, right? We've long lived in a world where we don't delete anything. This has been for the past 20 years. Everybody's had at least the mindset of we don't delete anything. We capture logs, we don't delete them. The problem is that none of these are in consistent formats. None of them are usable. And so you have to go through this data cleansing process to actually make it usable for AI or for whatever purpose, right? It's one of the challenges with AI is that people think they're spending 90% of their time, building out the models and refining them, and all. That's not the case. No, you're spending the vast majority of your time cleansing your data, standardizing it, getting it in a format where you can use it and make it portable and available. And I think that as we see the rise of hybrid cloud and the proliferation of edge, especially, that data cleansing and getting your data close to your compute is going to continue to just be more and more important for companies.
So very, very true. All right. Well, as we move into our next section, have our conversation here around sustainability, I thought we might brag a little bit about Dell and what you guys are up to there. So let's. I feel like we have a talk show, and you've got a new movie out, Jennifer. But let's roll the Dell clip.
Welcome to now, to this moment in time. Everything you see can spark an idea. What if that idea could protect our planet and shape a more sustainable future? That future starts now. We build advanced technology that helps you look at the world from a different perspective. Imagine running a zero carbon footprint business with energy efficient data center solutions. Envision cultivating fresh vegetables with built-in AI capabilities. And picture fighting climate change with real-time data collection. All of these solutions were once simply ideas, brought to life with the right tech at the right time. And now is the time to repurpose, reuse, and rethink the way we work, live, and play. We create sustainable IT solutions that drive change because we believe that every moment has the power to create anything and change everything. A better tomorrow begins today. Welcome to Now.
I love that. Welcome to Now. That's good stuff. All right, well, let's move into the next section. Chris is back. You saw him earlier, but we've also brought Adrianna Bustamante up. Adrianna, welcome to the program here today. Why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me again, Jeff and Chris and Jen. Thank you for joining us. Adrianna Bustamante. I am here at Rackspace, a long-term Racker. I'm responsible and look after our global partnerships and alliances and demand generation and business for our private cloud.
Well, we're so glad that you are here. Thanks for being here. Hey, Chris, I have a question for you, and it was asked in the chat earlier. I pushed pause on it just so we could wait till we got back to have an AI question. And the first one is, will AI replace DevOps? Any specific attribute you want to mention there?
No, we don't see it replacing DevOps. Like the way we've even looked at the product assisting AI capabilities we've been building, we call it intelligent assist. So what you're really doing is you're augmenting the human and you're helping the human to be able to work more efficiently, whether that's creating code, reviewing code, building tests, et cetera. These are all valid use cases that we see augmenting. We think AI is going to help you to troubleshoot and root cause faster. These are some of the capabilities we're building, but certainly it's going to be an additive technology. It's not going to be a replacement technology.
I love that you're calling that out. In fact, in our own efforts to help companies adopt AI, we created this spin-up last year, a new department team inside of Rackspace, a global team. We call it FAIR, the Foundry for AI at Rackspace. You want to learn more, just go to fair.rackspace.com. Later, write it down, go look later. Stay right here with me. Stay right here. And we talk about responsible AI adoption, and AI is best at its best when it is symbiotic. It's here to help humans do what they do better, whether that's creativity, whether that's efficiency, whether that's removing and lowering errors. So, Adrianna, I want to go to you with this next one. And with 65% of companies that we surveyed, the respondents that surveyed said that AI is going to make a significant impact in business this year. How do you see the role of AI evolving in business as an IT strategy?
Sure. I think there was some great data points that were called out in the survey and encourage everyone to download it and get the full read. But I think there's opportunity to elevate customer experience, which is top of mind for everybody. Chris talked about some examples that they're doing both internally and for clients, and also around innovation. Some of the stats from the survey showed that they actually realized larger benefits on the innovation front than they originally expected. So that's going to enable more organizations to really expand their creativity, think about those bigger projects that they want to get after. And I think it's an opportunity to better understand your clients. Josh talked about it earlier, the importance of and struggles with this data integration. Most organizations are desperate for getting more insight into who their clients are. And the more that we can develop and find the right use cases that can elevate the customer experiences and drive this level of innovation, we saw that many organizations expect to have more opportunity to leverage AI in getting more insights from the data.
Yeah, so true. And now, up until now, we've spoken about AI really in the abstract. Chris, you spend a majority of your time in this world. Let's talk about some specific use cases of where you're seeing AI have a significant impact in the business world.
Yeah, I think some of the low-hanging fruit was, to Adrianna's point, content creation. Like we were using a couple of different AI services for our marketing content. But what we even saw in folks that we worked with, which was quite interesting, I had lunch with a CIO in the retail sector late last year. And what he shared with me was, I got an email over the weekend and I read it. And I'm like, wow, this sounds just like our emails. And his conclusion was they were using the exact same AI service that he was using. Which I found to be kind of fascinating if you think about it. So he started asking me about our experience with open source models and how could we make sure that our voice is captured, because we don't want to just be vanilla, right, and just sound like our competitors. That's not going to help us stand out. But Jeff, also, along that line, I think what we're also seeing is like last year, AI was like one big ginormous Dilbert cartoon. It was like the board goes to the CEO and says, "What are you doing with AI?" And the CEO is like, "Okay, everybody, I gotta have something to tell the board," right? So every company was looking for a quick win. And now this year is more about like pump the brakes, like, hey, we got the quick win. Is this actually the right strategy? So people are doing a reset now on their AI strategy and really thinking more broadly and holistically about how do I prioritize cost? How do I learn and understand things I don't know, right? And how do I move forward from there?
So true, and ultimately these use cases, and I love the phrase that you used actually, where you said how can it be more in our voice, and that is a huge point of, I think, kind of self-awareness in that, hey, this is a tool that we can use the tool, and it really should be like us. It should sound like us. It should be from our voice, from our viewpoint, and from our position. So that, I think, really makes a huge point. But Adrianna, why do you think, one of our other stats was 50% of the respondents are prioritizing AI. So 65% amorphously say, hey, the world's going to be better for it. But 50% are saying, we're actually going to put our money where our mouth is on this one and dig in. So why do you think that 50% of those respondents are prioritizing AI here in these next 12 months?
I think everybody's looking for ways to be more efficient and optimize where they can. I think this is an opportunity where working with partners or other folks to help articulate that business value and help track that. I know that was one thing that was showing up in the survey results, is organizations know that they need to do this. I think Chris said it very well, as everyone found that low-hanging fruit, and now how do they become more intentional to it? And part of that intention needs to be, how are you not only building this into the strategy, but looking for ways to deliver that business value back to the key stakeholders? And I think that's where working with different partners, how do you figure out how it all comes together, becomes really important in some of these use cases. So that's why I feel like ultimately most organizations are looking for ways to optimize, but they need help navigating how to go do that. And that's where, if you dig into some of that additional insight and from the survey comments, there's an opportunity to all come together to help.
That's so true. That's so true. So, two things, folks. How are you? Again, we don't want to just talk at you. You're doing a great job asking questions in the comments, but also maybe let us know how you or your, as an individual or your organization, is using AI today. I'd love to be able to see some of those and maybe call some of those out. But Chris, along the lines of how we make things real and how we make it not a Dilbert cartoon, is to dispel some of the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that accompanies any new technology. And I actually heard a podcast interview a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman, and he made a really interesting point. Anytime a new technology comes along, we can only see how that technology is going to take things away, how it's going to remove things. Oh, the car comes along. Oh, what about my horses? Oh, the electricity comes along. What about all this whale blubber I've got laying around? In the case of AI, there's a lot of questions about jobs. And there's a question that was asked in here. It says, AI is taking our data for making itself efficient. So will it be harmful to us in the future? Will AI be harmful? I think is the ultimate question.
I think there's, it's quite, like, I've been involved in innovation teams for, I don't know, easily the last 10 years of my career. And you always have a choice with new technologies, which is you can either stand on the sidelines and choose not to participate, or you have to choose to participate and shape it, right? So it's our responsibility to drive how AI operates. Areas that we've been focused on are things like accuracy. Like, when AI is wrong, it's confidently wrong. Like, I grew up on the Jersey Shore, and like any guy on the Jersey Shore boardwalk, right? You don't really listen to like 80% of what he's saying. And language models can be the same. They can be just way off. So that's a challenge. So we're spending time on accuracy. We're spending time driving the industry towards open models and open data sources so that I can have more transparency around how AI is determining something. Even our internal AI chat service for customer support, it won't just give you an answer, but it'll say, here's the 6 sources that derive my answer. So
I love it when there's a citation.
Yeah.
Yep. And I love Jonathan's comment about how they're making AI more, or data more of a product, and AI is helping to expose that. Great job, Jonathan, for taking a prompt to include that. Now we're a little bit over in the section, but Adrianna, I do want to ask you a question, and that is, how does AI fit into, or does it fit into this world of hybrid and edge? Is it really just a thing for one location, a public cloud, or sold in a private cloud? What's the story there?
Sure. I think that this is a great example, and this demystifying where some people think that AI might only be connected to the public cloud and to the hyperscalers. I think really this is an opportunity to help and really elevate the hybrid environment, because there is opportunity to gather a lot of data depending on the right use cases. There is an opportunity where compliance and security are so paramount. And I think that finding that right solution, again, it's all about being workload aware. How are you intentional with your overall strategy? But there's ways that you can benefit from cloud adjacency, from mix and matching of both, depending on the workload, with a hybrid approach specifically to AI as well, just as you would any other workload or technology.
And
All
Jeff,
right, well,
I'll give one example here
yeah,
to
please.
Adrianna's point. So I love what you said there, and I think part of our job has been myth busting, because like what we found for our code development use case, to give you an example, we're getting 400 software developers on a single NVIDIA A100 GPU, which isn't even their high end.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is like you get all this focus on model training, and but that's like 1% of what really happens in AI. It's tuning a model and it's inferencing, where you really don't need you can even use a fraction of a GPU and virtualize the GPU and get even greater benefits and more cost benefits that you get to put in your pocket. So it's very accessible, and I think folks just need to kick the tires on some of these use cases and see it for themselves.
Really do. They really do. All right, well, let's move on. And I've given a little bit of highlight to Dell and to VMware, but how about a little bit about what Rackspace is up to? So Adrianna, to Jonathan's point before, data is really important. They've used AI to help expose it as a product, but that also means that we need to make sure that we take that data super seriously and their compute super seriously. So let's talk about disaster recovery for just a second, and an offer that you're here to tell us about at Rackspace.
Yes. So again, through what we hear from our customers and what I know we're hearing very much relevant in the market is business continuity is super important for organizations. And more often than not, studies are showing that most organizations aren't very strongly positioned to execute on this, or recent tests have not gone as planned. And all of this leads to downtime and failure and increased regulations, capital constraint. This is only going to be more relevant. And organizations, they just want the outcomes. They don't want the hassle of worrying about all of the minutia of how best to manage this, how best to configure. So right now, so please everybody, there's a QR code up at the top left. We have our Rackspace Disaster Recovery as a service that can help address those needs. We listen to a lot of feedback from our clients on what would be ideal to how to manage to these outcomes. You can learn more about not only the services, but we do have a complimentary offer for you to take advantage of over the next couple of months. So I encourage everyone to go in and click in. It helps achieve those lower technology costs and how to operate. It is it's based on a price consumption model. You have ability to scale with it. So lots of the features or things that you might think about in a public cloud is also available in private to give you that complete hybrid story. So everyone go click on it and check it out.
All right. Well, thank you so
much. Already people are doing it. It's exciting.
It's exciting. 6 people have already looked. There's thousands watching us now. So we're looking for that number to grow up a little bit.
Yeah. Take it for a test drive.
Take it for a spin. All right, well, let's move on. So thank you very much for that, Adrianna. Folks, we will bring that QR code up a little bit later, just so that you have it, or just use your phone and grab a quick picture there. But let's go ahead and bring Josh and Jennifer back up for just a second. I want to talk some, drivers in both public and private cloud. Josh, let's start with public cloud. A couple of key major sections of drivers, of course, access to what feels like limitless compute and storage, reducing IT maintenance, and then increasing process efficiency. How are these, together helping to help people to make conscious decisions to use public cloud when public cloud makes sense?
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, the limitless compute and storage, this gives you that ability to prototype very, very quickly, right? And so regardless of where you want to use, if we're talking AI, wherever you want to use your model or whatever it may be, right? Like your ability to prototype quickly is just unmatched by what you get on the hyperscalers. And then whenever you get into like that, so you talked reduced IT maintenances and increased process efficiency, the cloud native services that exist from AWS, Azure, GCP, they're fantastic, right? And when used properly and purpose driven, the capabilities that they drive are just unbeatable. I look at one example there is transactional email, right? So there's lots of folks that you can do transactional email through. All the major players have one. Like, why on earth would you still be running an SMTP server and trying to be handling your transactional email yourself? Don't do that. That's crazy, right? Go to a cloud native service for something like that. That's just one of the many examples. But with public cloud and just that breadth, that arsenal of tools at your disposal, it allows you to prototype quickly. It allows you to modernize your applications. It allows you to get more efficient. That drives into all the other things we've talked about, like sustainability.
Yes. Jennifer, one of the things you mentioned earlier was a characteristic that helps with private cloud is security and compliance. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit as one of the major drivers for folks going in and utilizing that as a tool.
Yeah, so I think, security and compliance should be top of mind for everybody, right? And especially as new technologies come out, I think the organizations are looking at where they're vulnerable. Things like in public cloud, you can, obviously they've got global data centers everywhere in every region, and it's very easy to implement, a DR or a business continuity strategy, leveraging that public cloud. But certainly, I think private cloud offers, the agility that you need from a business perspective, but also with those strict controls, to kind of safeguard.
Yeah, it is. Of course, security top of mind for everyone. Josh, you, as I mentioned earlier, you helped define a lot of the private cloud offerings that we have here at Rackspace. When we think about operational efficiency and cost reduction, I think that you tell a good story there of how looking at the types of workloads that you're considering where they should live, public or private. What are some of the characteristics of workloads where private cloud just is a smart economic and operational decision?
Yeah, great question. So some of the key things that stand out, your data egress fees, your compute and your storage that are non-bursty, that are static. You can run them in public clouds, but gosh, you can run them a lot more efficiently a lot of the times in a private cloud. Now, when you have that variable workload, when you have big spikes, big drawdowns, that's the ideal use case for public cloud. But when you know that you're going to be using consistent workloads, when you look at your infrastructure and you say, gosh, a whole lot of this are active VMs that are running 24/7 that I'm not going to be modernizing anytime over the next year or two. Those are perfect workloads for running in a private cloud. One of the quips that I have is I like to look at a customer's AWS bill, and if 60-70% of it is EC2 instances, you kind of just want to shake them and say, like, what are you doing, right?
What are you thinking
here? There's other options for this. So I think it all comes down to like public cloud, private cloud, whatever. Like, it's a tool. Use the tool as it's intended, right? Use it for the appropriate workload. And so if you have that static workload that you're not bursty, you're not going up and down with big swings. You've got you're using VMware and you've got VMs running persistently. You've really got to consider where you can run that most efficiently, and most often that's going to be a private cloud.
So true. Now, as we've done these research projects, oh my gosh, for a couple of years now, one of the things that always pops up as a challenge is how companies are addressing the IT skills gap. Because even in a world where it's a challenging economic times, the study, of course, reinforced that as well. There still are challenges in dealing with that. So Jennifer, how do companies address the skills gap in their IT operations, especially for emerging technologies, like AI, 5G? Private cloud, public cloud. How are they doing that?
Yeah, well, I'll say, some are choosing to buy versus building their own, right? So they're leveraging managed services or, their partner ecosystem to help get them up to speed very quickly, whether that's through education and training or just actually handing it off to them to kind of manage. But, obviously, when you look at talent attainment and, recruitment and things like that, people want to get those new skills. They want to learn, AI. Everybody wants to be part of the AI initiative, right? So being able to make sure that you're offering programs, internally. I know at Dell we've got quite a number of training as well as projects that they can engage in. So I think just getting people up to speed on that.
And Josh, of course, we work for a company that is a managed hosting provider, managed services capabilities. So we partner with companies very often to help with their challenges in and around staffing. So how do companies balance the need for what do the employees in the company do, and what do they look to outsource? How do they balance that and be successful at the same time?
Yeah, you want as a company, you want your folks focusing on your differentiators that make you stand apart from your competitors in your space, right? And so think about what it is that you have your IT staff working on. And if they're working on things that are differentiators against your competitors, great. That's where they should be spending their time. If they're working on things that are not differentiators, if they're working on things like how do I, maintain my fleet and handle my patching and handle my upgrades, handle, whether it's VMware or OpenStack or AWS or GCP administration and management of these, how do I handle, my deployment process and improving that through Terraform or CloudFormations? If that's where your team is spending time, I think that you've got to consider, is there an ability to, pull in outside help? Pull in help from somebody like Rackspace to say, hey, like this stuff that's not differentiating me against my competitors, I need it to be great and I need it to work and I need 24/7 support on it. That's the kind of stuff where you pull in a partner so that you can focus your team on the true differentiators that are going to set you apart from your competitors.
Killer advice. All right, speaking of great advice and insights, if you haven't already had enough of it through the past 47 minutes, what I want to do now is bring all of our panelists up onto the stage, and I've got a question for each of them. Really, it's one question for all, and that is, what are your views of what to look for in 2024? What are the core technologies that are going to have, or services that are going to have a significant impact? And Adrianna, I'd love to lead with you.
Yes. So I've said this different times and we continue to see it grow. The importance of partner ecosystems is becoming more and more relevant. Organizations want to simplify what that choice is with the quick adoption of AI. Not one company can do this alone. We're not doing this alone. Look at the partners here. Look at the work we're doing with the hyperscalers. I think I hold dear Jay McBain's quote of there's 7 different partners in a client's account at any given time. And that's just the nature of the business. We need to all work together to create viable integrated solutions that make sense to the organizations to get them what they need.
Don't be afraid to partner and have a bunch of them.
Don't be.
Get as much help as you can. That's great. Now, Chris, let's take that same question to you. But before you answer it, I would like to actually ask you a question from the comments. Rohit asks a question. I thought you'd be great to answer this. He says, can capabilities and services like cloud native development, cloud science engineering, LLM ops, and so forth be extended to private cloud as part of a hybrid cloud implementation?
Yeah, 100%. That's effectively what we do is internally as a company. We have dozens of customers that are at various stages right now of onboarding private AI in their own private cloud environments, because what they're finding is, especially with some of these smaller models, they're able to get the benefits of AI without compromising their security, their privacy, and often at a far lower cost as well. So all of these things are really compelling. You can absolutely bring this into private AI, and we're continuing to drive a very large ISV ecosystem that's giving customers a lot of choice. So I think, to Adrianna's points, like our approach at VMware, or approach I've been trying to drive, is VMware, stay in your lane. We're doing AI infrastructure. This is what we do. We're relying on partners to do everything else. And Rackspace, of course, is critical. Dell's a critical partner. All of those things matter to us. And again, I think together as an ecosystem, we're going to be able to bring all this value.
Fantastic. All right, great answer, great viewpoint. Now, back to the main question at hand. Technologies in 2024 that you think are going to have a significant impact on the business world?
Yeah, what I think it really starts to matter is you're going to see both the continued emergence of open source models and domain-specific models for AI. This is providing a whole lot of choice for organizations. And what's really important about these domain-specific models, these are models that are trained on a particular business process or a particular industry. They're much smaller. They require less memory, less GPU, less network. They lower your carbon footprint, to the points that Jennifer was making earlier. These are all things that really matter to customers and are really going to help to drive the industry forward.
Yeah, I love that. Great answer. Okay. With that, Jennifer, same question over to you. Technology drivers in 24.
Yeah, before I do that, I want to jump on the Adrianna bandwagon, though. I think the partner ecosystem is critically important. I think, whether it's alliance partners, channel partners, ISV partners, so many are working together now themselves, right, to give you the best of everything for customers. So definitely a big fan of the partner ecosystem. But from a IT perspective, I think edge computing, right? So I think, especially with AI now as prolific as it is, I think edge computing is really going to explode in 2024. And you're going to see, companies, even Dell, kind of focus on, creating platforms that make it a lot easier to manage that for customers.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree more on edge. And I still scratch my head a little bit on that simply because, about 3 years ago, we did every quarter we were putting out, what are the buzzwords that we think are just not gonna go anywhere. And edge really lacked definition back in 2019, 2020. And boy, has it ever become a key asset in an IT strategy, as evidenced not only by what you said, but the study that we did as well. All right, Josh, not last, but certainly not least, 2024.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So first of all, I think fantastic answers from everybody. I agree with all of them. The one that I'm watching that I'm interested in is let's lump it all into extended reality, right? So whether that's AR, VR, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it, extended reality I think is going to be interesting to watch for 24. Right, you've got the Apple with their Vision Pro. I wasn't one of the 200,000 people that bought one in the past couple of days, but they're selling those things at $3,500 a pop, and that's going to show up on folks' faces over the next month, right? And with whether it's the Apple Vision Pro or what's coming out of Meta or any of these, I think you're going to continue to see innovation in the space grow at a rapid pace. And with that, it's going to drive significant requirements in compute, storage, and edge, right? And so I think that we're on the precipice of I'm going to call it an iPhone type moment of, switching from, your Razr flip phone or maybe your BlackBerry or your Trio into, the smartphones becoming mainstream. I think that we're getting close to that with extended reality. And I think that the expansion of extended reality is going to drive just massive technological needs.
Indeed. And Jennifer, you were just even mentioning before along those lines, how you guys are doing some of your leadership meetings.
Yeah, it's been really fun, really. We have what we have is a CTO roundtable conversation with a lot of our CTOs around the world. And it's really interesting to get them all in a virtual room and be able to converse, just like they're sitting right next to you. So I think more to come. I think I'm excited about it as well, Josh.
Well, folks, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the program. Incredible content. We've gone through about a tenth of what I hope we might cover. There's just so much in it. Everyone, I want to recommend and encourage you to head over to rackspace.com/solve, and that's where you can find and download this research report. There's so much more content in there. Feel free to grab it, to use it, to cite it, all that you might want to do. Also, I want to remind you, of course, that Rackspace does have a little offer around our disaster recovery capabilities. Look, there's the QR code right now. So go ahead and feel free to hover and click on that and bring that up. Look, Gracie, thank you so much for bringing that into the chat so you can go out and get that research report. Feel free to go do that. Rohit, you asked another great question about LLMs and where they're being used, both in hyperscalers or not. Let's continue this conversation, folks. Just follow us over on LinkedIn. You can find me over there, or just send me an email at solve@rackspace.com, another way to track us down. But folks, we are here to help. Hopefully you realize that in the course of the past 55 minutes, as well as everything we do as part of the Solve program. And that is to bring the best thinking that we have at companies, not just like Rackspace, but our partners like Dell and VMware by Broadcom, and bringing you the smartest people that we can find in the industry at no cost. Just come here. You don't have to buy from us. I'd like you to, but you don't have to. But if you need a little DR, there's the link to go ahead and do that. And guess what, folks? We are wrapping up our latest bit of research, and you better believe it's about data and AI. And coming up in the next couple of months, we will have, I think it's in March, watch LinkedIn for the announcements, but we will have our next Solve Summit that will be live, and we'll unpack all of that data. So all of that's coming back in. There are some incredible findings. I can't tease them out to you quite yet, but you're going to be pretty excited to hear about them. And some of your things are going to be affirmed in your thoughts around AI. So a huge thank you to our partners over at Dell and VMware for being a part of the program here today. And a huge amount of help to folks like Gracie Lepere, who leads the Solve program over inside of the marketing team, for Megan Fleming-Fretz on the social side, Daniel, and all the team of folks we have behind the scenes. That takes a very large village to pull off a program like this. And everyone, my hugest thank you to you for spending the past hour with us. And we'll see you, of course, next week at 8:30 a.m. Central Time with our regularly scheduled Solve Cloud Talk Live. And then in March, we'll be back with another Solve Summit. Everyone, hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon.